Welcome to Mystara for a catch-up video to replace the one delayed by some copper thieves, knocking out my internet for almost 2 weeks. I know I said I was working on the games of Mystara, but that's proving to be a research-heavy topic, and I don't like to fall behind. Instead, I'm following the advice of one of my loyal subscribers and talking about something that I created, the nightmare creature that is the Rexxen. I don't create a lot of new stuff for Mystara unless there's a need for it, and Mystara really needed a soul-stealing vixen comprised of solid nightmare fuel. But why does the best setting in D&D need a new creature if it's already so good? To get rid of a continuity error, the bane of Mystara. I'm Mr. Welch, and I'm making up for lost time. If you're a regular watcher of my videos, you know the biggest problem in Mystara is the continuity issues. If you're not a regular watcher, it's about time you became one. Probably the biggest contributor to all the errors in the setting has to be the Northern Reaches, the one that introduced us to the real-world deities in a setting that didn't have any. That completely rewrote the afterlife with its focus on reincarnation. Actually, that turned out for the better because it made the setting unique. Okay, so we forgive them for that one. But one of the things they introduced that made no sense whatsoever was that the Dark Elves made a mess of things in the region and disappeared, never to be mentioned again. These Dark Elves created a large number of magic items, were responsible for enabling the rise of several mortals, coordinated with the Modrigswurg and the Father of Demons, who has never been identified, and they left the world to go hang around in Svartalfheim. But who are these guys? None of the elves in Mystara make sense. Shadow elves might be pale and white-haired, but they have no ties to the Viking lands. Shot and Elfin fit the description as well, but they're stuck in the Hollow World, and they're nowhere near that powerful. Black lore elves might have the power, but they can't leave the Hollow World. Even Drow or Shadar Kai from other settings don't run around swapping souls for power. Enter the Rexxen. Rexxen appear as tall, gaunt young women with pale skin and long white hair. Their eyes are solid black, and their joints go in all directions. They move in a disturbing manner. They are natives of the demiplane of nightmares, and most definitely count as that creature type. While they look humanoid, their actual appearance is unknown, as no one has seen one in its true form on our home plane. Another aspect is their flesh is quite malleable. They can extend their limbs to twice their length, and their mouth can distend to reveal rows of needle-like teeth, though they aren't into biting. The sound of their voice is barely above a whisper, but is also grating, like their mouth is filled with crushed glass. They have a distinctive elven resemblance, but that is purely superficial. Their appearance is one of the reasons why they were mistaken for elves, a mistake they're not inclined to correct. The Rexxen exists to strike deals, and the price is always a soul. It doesn't need to be the bargainer soul. They will gladly take the souls of people offered to them as sacrifice. What the Rexxen do with the souls is horrific, because they specialize in soul-forging artifacts, a powerful magical item normally. Rexxen artifacts are capable of great destruction. In fact, the damage inflicted is often far in excess of what's actually needed, or even bargained for. But the Nightmare Ladies do love their collateral damage. Most of the artifacts have a cost to activate, almost always in life energy. This can be levels, but most of the time it's a single hit point. A hit point spent to activate the magic item is gone forever. Nothing can bring it back, not even a wish spell. They don't need an entire soul to create magic items normally. A few levels can be sacrificed to forge anything short of a relic. Rexxen soul-forged items are not bound to their commissioner. Anyone who can acquire one and is willing to pay the price can use it. Rexxen don't care where the life force comes from, just as long as it keeps coming. While they are remembered as elves in the lore, upon seeing one, it's pretty obvious these creatures are nothing like any form of elf found in Mystara. Shot and Elfin can be pretty twisted, but even they can't palm a bowling ball, or swallow it in one gulp. This of course raises the question, if they're obviously nightmare creatures, why are they remembered as Dark Elves? The answer lies in their ability called Creature of Legend. Simply put, anything written down about the Rexxen will rapidly become illegible over a few days, regardless of what it's written on. Ink will run and smudge, pages become blank, tattoos will peel off, stone carvings erode, metal etchings rust. Nothing can be written down about a Rexxen. It's not just the mention of their name. Any reference to them in any form just isn't possible. You can't disguise it with a code, you can't refer to them by a different name, you can't create a pictogram or anything similar. Nothing can stop the process. Even writing it on something normally indestructible like a magic tome will become corrupted, possibly even destroying the book in the process. The only way of remembering anything about them that isn't affected is spoken word. Their legend can still be spread through oral histories, word of mouth, or bardic tales, but as the years pass, memories of them fade, so their true identity once again becomes obscured. This means what little is known about them is often half remembered or attributed to someone else. But how does one contact a Rexxen if we can't remember who they are? The tales about them still linger, but someone has to track down the ritual by pursuing every possible lead they can find. The ritual to summon one will often be remembered one part at a time by a dozen different people of varying degrees of cooperation. It's almost an epic quest to summon a Rexxen. That is, if they don't appreciate your effort and seek you out instead. The more desperate someone is to find one, the more likely the Rexxen will preempt the search. They seem to know who is looking for them or when their services are wanted. This usually means the bargainer will agree to the Rexxen's terms a lot easier than someone who goes through the entire process, but that's how the Rexxen like them. Once you've found the Rexxen, they will start haggling for what you need. This is most often a relic of some kind, but the Rexxen will perform a physical service just as readily for the right price. And the price, of course, is always souls. Before the horny bard gets any idea, these creatures are humanoid in appearance only. They are creatures of pure nightmare. Their method of reproduction is going to be rather lengthy, quite fatal, and more than a bit squick. Not talking about getting the duct tape of healing post-coitus, I'm talking about getting the mop of last rites. If John Carpenter and David Cronenberg had a love child, it would be a Rexxen. One problem people will discover after dealing with a Rexxen is these things are big fans of overkill. Any task you want them to perform will require a body count. If you send them to remove a rival lord, they will merrily slaughter the entire castle. If you tell her just to kill the lord, she will permanently maim everyone else. If you tell her only to harm the target, she will drag him physically back to you, dismembering him as you go, leaving a really obvious blood trail straight to you. She won't break the contract, but she will take advantage of any loophole she can find to indulge in slaughter. None of the tales mention this little catch in dealing with them, and she won't bring it up either. The absolute lack of any common lore regarding the Rexxen has worked in their favor since they first discovered the prime material plane. They are a lot less bloodthirsty when tasked to create a relic. They usually don't work on the prime plane. They go back to the demi-plane of nightmares where the physical laws are a lot more accommodating. They first collect all the souls required, as the relic is literally made of souls given solid form. The victims are very much alive in this process. They feel every second of heat in the forge, every hammer blow, and are completely aware of their status in their new form. This process usually drives the victim insane, and that can only be reversed with immortal magic. For enough souls, they will even forge the weaker members of their species into incredibly powerful artifacts. Rexxen are quite formidable in combat, and rather difficult to kill. In Beckme, their abilities are a bit lessened because of the simpler rules compared to 5th edition, but they have a level drain attack, they need a +3 weapon to be hit, have the nightmare magic resistance, so they're immune to prime magic, and can cause a save versus spells, or the target has to run away in fear 3 times a day. Lots of hit points, great saving throws, and they regenerate a number of hit points equal to the damage they inflict. Beckme monsters are a lot easier to design because of the different powers available are a bit limited. You will only ever find a Rexxen alone, and even then when she's summoned. You're not going to find one wandering a dungeon. They will be in the act of bargaining or covered in blood on a whirlwind killing spree. In 5th edition, their powers are far more defined. They have inhuman dexterity and constitution, and the rest of their stats are quite high as well. They are immune to non-magical weapons, necrotic damage, and strangely enough, force damage. Magic missiles and the like cause their skin to ripple, but do no harm. They've got stock magic resistance compared to nightmare magic resistance in Beckme. Nightmare magic resistance is a pain to calculate in 5th edition. Trust me, I tried. They're immune to a ton of conditions. Being nightmares, they aren't familiar with human emotions like fear. You can't grapple, restrain, or knock one prone because of their inhuman flexibility. It would be like trying to put a ragdoll in a full Nelson. She just spins the other way. She does get legendary resistances and abilities in 5th edition. Instead of level drain, she permanently reduces hit points when she damages you. Her scream deafens and deals psychic damage, but requires a recharge. You can find this version on the vaults. The Beckme version's being rewritten because of a corrupted file. Your party is more than likely only going to encounter a Rexxen when someone has bargained for her to go on a killing spree. She doesn't even have to be hired to go on a massacre. She could have been asked to murder just one person, but the agreement wasn't concise. Remember, if they think the person trying to summon them can be easily manipulated, they will manifest on their own. They want to make deals, just on their terms, and they aren't tied down to the vagaries of legally binding contracts like devils are. They also don't care where the souls are coming from. If the baddie pays them with a bunch of drunks he kidnapped from Fogre Island to make a magical item, they're just as happy as if he let them drain him for multiple levels. Of course, killing a Rexxen on her murder spree is a bit tricky due to her natural defenses. Rexxen are meant to be plot devices more than they are actual villains. Of course, if someone summons a Rexxen to kill a party member, then the gloves are off. They're a mystery to be solved, which is going to be quite difficult because all the information on them is going to be secondhand and incomplete. Unless, of course, you find a pachydermian, because those guys never forget. That also might make one a target for a Rexxen who doesn't appreciate their perfect memory. That's a plot hook for you. If you're trying to find out about a Rexxen magic item, you're going to go on a quest. Finding the person responsible for turning an orphanage into an abattoir? Get ready to learn about the bargainers from Nightmare Land from half a dozen sources to find out who summoned her. Rexxen don't go on killing sprees without an agreement. In this sense, they're little more than weapons. Or as a wise man once said, it's not the hands that summon us, it's desire. That's the Rexxen. They serve a number of purposes. They can replace the roles of devils in some ways with their love of bargaining. They make for great twists and murder mysteries. They explain who the Dark Elves are without disturbing the lore. they add in another nightmare creature in a category that is sadly underrepresented. We have about half a dozen nightmare creatures total, when the demi-plane is the perfect place to put everything inspired from eating a handful of spicy kolaches right before bedtime. Where do you think I came up with her, after all? Now that I'm caught up, I'm going to try to see if I can salvage the Games of Mystara video this weekend. But until then, I have such sights to show you.